Well, I'm actually delighted to say that Katharina Kubrick is with us here at the cinema at the Film Arena for a very special screening of 2001: A Space Odyssey. And before we started the filming, I was saying it changed my life, changed everything. And the stories we can probably talk about, you can talk about this film, and when you saw it the first time, a game changer. But
it was a game changer. I was 14. We went to New York for the big premiere, and my much younger sisters and I were sitting in the front row of this enormous cinema, and there were all these sort of executives and ladies with blue rinses and all their jewelry, and who did not know what was going on at all.
Because it's not your average sort of sci-fi.
No, and it was, I think they were expecting people in silver suits and pointy rocket ships and bug-eyed monsters, which had been really what science fiction films had been like that. But this isn't really a science fiction film. It's more like a science to be fact to be, which we still haven't achieved. We're not toing and froing between the moon as if it was just another bus ride.
Well, we've got screens in the back of our seats now on planes. I mean, those sort of things were clever, weren't they?
Close. Yeah. But by the time 2001's been and gone, and we haven't achieved what they had envisioned by the year 2001, and a lot of things that they didn't envision, for instance, was the microchip that wasn't around at the time. Anyway, so at this incredibly posh premiere in New York, and we were blown away because we'd been visiting the set, we'd been walking on the centrifuge, we'd been playing with the chimpanzees.
Of course, all destroyed, so no one can see it.
It was, Daddy's job, and we went to visit the set. So when we were sitting there, we didn't have any preconceived ideas. We just took it on. It was a journey. It was an adventure that we went on, and it is a very visceral experience. And even though we didn't intellectualize it at the time, it was such a ride, in every sense of the word. And of course, it is the biggest philosophical story there is, from the very beginning to who knows where.
And so you're doing a Q&A later, and everyone's got to get down to what does it mean at the end, and everyone's got their own interpretations, of course.
Which is why, half a century later, people are still talking about it, because who you are is how you understand it. So, for instance, they showed it at the Vatican. So they took it on as an incredibly spiritual but agnostic film. And then if you're a scientist, or you're a geek, or you're a sci-fi fan, or whatever, who you are and how old you are and what your life experiences are and how deep you want to delve into the meaning of it all is how you will receive it. And of course, the fact that people are still talking about it 50 years later shows that, like a great painting or a great opera, it doesn't go away, because it's art. It's film art.
Only your dad could have made that film, I would say, in the sense of the passion in that film, because he made sure. How many takes, how many this, that, another. I've watched all the makings of and this whole thing. He really was dedicated to that. All his films, of course.
I think he was a great visionary. He also made sure that he always had the best experts of the time. So whenever he started a project, whether it was a film about Napoleon or a 17th century, Thackeray book, whatever it is, by the time he made the movie, he knew more about that subject in that period than he had previously. So he did his research quite famously. Yeah. He did a lot of research. So he knew. But from 1964, when he was talking to Fred Ordway and Arthur C. Clarke and all the people at NASA, he was getting all the information and their best guesstimate of what they thought it was going to be. Because we hadn't landed on the moon yet. We didn't land on the moon, or they didn't land on the moon, until the following year. Yeah. So we, the Kubrick family, like the rest of the planet, were glued to our television sets and, watching this incredible human adventure. Yeah. And the first thing that Stanley said was, when we saw our Earth, he said, "Oh God, I didn't get it blue enough," because nobody'd seen it. And obviously it was a model, because this is a film that is made with, it's handmade, it's models, it's glue, it's string, it's paint, there's no CGI. CGI wasn't invented. This is handmade movies.
My question for tonight then is, why did he want to get rid of all the models? He was passionate. He didn't want it. The sequel, which of course did get made, but what did you agree with him, that sort of thing? Did you have a reason for not wanting those to be seen in the future? I
don't think it was necessarily a conscious thing. Movie making is make-believe. So, for instance, at that studio, they had the Oliver set for Oliver Twist, the musical, and it stood because it was useful for other movies and they would adapt it. But you look behind the facade of any film set and it's just wood. These are not meant to last. It's a movie, so at the end of it, where do you store all that stuff?
Yeah.
You make it for the movie and then it goes.
Well, it's one of the films to see before you die.
Yes.
This is me being really. I'm not going to be that geeky, but I got a frame that I bought with the original DVD.
Which is very cool. You got the centrifuge and the two pale Earth.
Can we shut the camera there? So that's a frame, and it's 70mm, I think. Yeah, it is
70mm. Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. They must have taken the whole film and cut it up.
Yes, they did. They took a whole print and they cut it up. And the worst thing is, back in the day when they used to show it on television, and our televisions used to be square format,
ones, yeah.
and what they would do is they would letterbox it and put black on top and at the bottom. And then at some point, some person had this genius idea of putting stars top and bottom. It's like, no. But it's so I think that with our televisions these days and everybody's fancy screens and blue screens, it works so much better.
It's probably one of only 10 Blu-rays I bought because I had it on DVD because it is a Blu-ray sort of film. It's the extra quality. So there's my bit of 2001. It changed my life. Obviously had a big influence on your life.
And so many other directors. I mean, the whole brat pack of Spielberg and Lucas and Adrian Lyne and all the people who followed him realized that he had pushed the envelope and that he had made the film that he wanted to see. And somebody brilliantly said that Stanley Kubrick was the Frank Sinatra of film directors because he did it his way.
What a way to leave this. Thank you so much for talking to us.
My pleasure.
Do see the film. If you nothing else before you hop off this earth, you've got to see this film, and you tell us what you think about the end. You got your own ideas? I mean, obviously,
I'm not saying. And no, because if I say, then I will take away another person's imagination. It's open, and that's why Stanley didn't ever want to explain what it meant, because he's robbing you of your interpretation of it. And it's like, looking at a piece of abstract art and having an explanation next to it and saying it means this. So whatever your interpretation is removed from you. And that's what is, as I said, great about all art and great music, is that we all receive it in a different way. And that's the most important thing. So to see it.